A$AP Rocky is done playing nice. People are saying after 8 years of silence, he didn't come back. He came back to erase the whole rap industry's comfort zone. And the internet is spinning because this doesn't sound like a regular album, it sounds like a musical weapon. Like, who disappears that long and returns this surgical? Everybody thought they knew the full story about Rocky's vanishing act. The simple version was, he got distracted. Rihanna happened, fashion happened, movies happened, and honestly, people treated it like the final chapter, like the moment passed and we all just moved on. That was the version everyone repeated, the safe version, the lazy version. But now this new wave of clips, track breakdowns, and behind-the-scenes rumors got the whole narrative twisted. Because folks aren't just reacting like, oh, this is fire. Nah, they're reacting like, wait, why does this feel like it was designed to expose everybody else? And when an album got people asking that, it's not music anymore. It's a message. Let me break this down, because the internet is not just buzzing. The internet is moving like a courtroom right now. Like everybody suddenly got a law degree, a producer ear, and a conspiracy board in their bedroom. First thing people keep pointing at is the opening. Order of protection. Even the title alone, that's not a vibe, that's a threat. That's paperwork. That's boundaries. That's basically Rocky telling the whole industry, don't come near this unless you're ready to get hurt. And in the first seconds, people swear you can hear it. The album's tone is cold. Not sad, not moody, cold. Like the lights in the room just changed colors, like something walked in. No warm-up, no radio-friendly intro, no single bait, just straight atmosphere, warped sound, transitions that feel like you're walking through a hallway and the doors keep locking behind you. Now, TMZ didn't confirm anything, and we're not claiming it's factual, but the blogs and music pages have been pushing the same narrative. Rocky is not playing the streaming game. Allegedly, the rollout itself was quiet on purpose. No begging, no over-explaining, no please love me. He let the work show up like a black car with tinted windows. You don't know who inside, but you feel the pressure. And it gets even crazier when you look at the feature strategy. Because people expected the typical playbook. Stack a million names, collect playlists, chase TikTok snippets, flood the algorithm. But fans online swear this album moves the opposite way. The features don't feel like features. They feel like characters in a film. They're woven in so clean, some listeners are missing them on first play. And people are taking this to a new level. I'm talking frame-by-frame analysis, but with sound. They're slowing down ad-libs, zooming in on background harmonies, comparing syllable shapes like it's voice-matching software. I saw folks on Twitter saying they ran similarity checks between certain vocal textures in past sessions, claiming 78% match on one background layer, 84% match on another, like they're building a case. Now, is that officially verified? No, but that's the whole point. The mystery is feeding itself. The more unclear it is, the more people obsess. And check this out. People are also talking about the structure. 17 tracks, nearly an hour. That's not quick consumption. That's not playlist snack. That's sit down. That's take this seriously. That's Rocky daring you to stay in the room with him. And honestly, the production choices are what got folks acting shook. Because a lot of mainstream rap right now is designed like fast food. You know what it's going to taste like before you open the bag. But this is like you walked into a kitchen and the chef turned the lights off and started cooking with fire you can't control. There are transitions that sound like scenes changing, beat switches that don't announce themselves, they just happen. Moments where the drums feel like they're crawling, not knocking, and then suddenly it opens up into something cinematic, like a soundtrack that forgot it was supposed to be rap and decided to become a world. Fans online keep saying the same thing. This album doesn't want to trend. It wants to infect. It wants to sit in your head. It wants you replaying sections like you're trying to catch hidden messages. And look, let's keep it real. Everything is speculation until confirmed. But the way people are reacting, that's the giveaway. Because when a project is just good, people post a story and move on. When a project feels like it's doing something bigger, people start forming camps. They start arguing like it's politics. They start saying stuff like, "This is the reset." And the scariest part is how believable that sounds. Because Rocky isn't just rapping like he wants applause. He's rapping like he already knows what the room is going to say. And he's 2 steps ahead watching everybody catch up in real time. That hits different. And it gets even wilder because people are comparing this to other long-wait albums, and they're saying Rocky didn't just take time off. He was allegedly collecting pieces, a little film language, a little fashion world control, a little director brain, a little "I don't need y'all" energy. And when he came back, he didn't come back begging to be accepted. He came back acting like the genre belongs to him again. Now, I'm not saying that's objectively true. I'm saying that's the perception spreading online. And perception, in music, perception becomes reality real quick. So when people say, "This isn't an album, it's a hostile takeover," they're not just being dramatic. They're reacting to a feeling. The feeling that Rocky pulled off the one thing most artists can't. He made absence feel like power. He made silence feel like strategy. He made a gap in time feel like a loading screen before the boss fight. And now, everybody's hearing it, even the people pretending they don't. Now let's get into the motive, because this is where everything starts clicking. And honestly, this is where the story gets a little uncomfortable for the industry. Think about Rocky's timeline. There was a period where he wasn't just a rapper. He was a symbol, fashion, taste, a whole aesthetic. He wasn't chasing trends. He was standing still, and trends were running into him. Then the internet flipped on him like it always does. One minute is genius, next minute it's fell off. Because in the streaming era, if you're not dropping every 15 minutes, people act like you're extinct. And that kind of fall off hits different when you know what you're capable of. Because Rocky watched the genre change while he was still alive inside it. He watched the sound get faster, simpler, more disposable. He watched albums turn into content packs. He watched artists stack features like armor, not because they wanted collaboration, but because they were scared to stand alone. So imagine being Rocky and realizing the game you helped shape is now a vending machine. You put a coin in, you get a song. Next, next, next. And people online are saying Rocky didn't disappear because he couldn't. He disappeared because he refused to play that. And it gets even crazier when you add the life stuff, the Rihanna factor. Because whether folks want to admit it or not, being attached to Rihanna changes how the world looks at you. It's not just romance, it's brand gravity, it's global attention, it's power in rooms you can't even enter without permission. So when Rocky flexes now, it's not the old rap bravado. It's not "I got money." It's "I moved into a different universe and I'm still rapping better than your favorites." That's the kind of flex that ends debates without yelling. Now, I'm not claiming their relationship is some industry chess move, but fans online love that narrative. They love the idea that Rocky leveled up his life while everybody else stayed stuck chasing playlist slots. And that perception alone can trigger envy, real envy. Because it's one thing to be rich, it's another thing to be rich and respected and still creative. People also keep bringing up how Rocky did all these side quests, acting, directing, curating, being in spaces where rap isn't the main character. And that matters, because when you live outside the genre, you start hearing it differently. If you only eat one food, you don't know what you're missing. But when you taste other flavors, you come back to the table like, why are we still eating this same bland plate? And allegedly, that's what happened here. Fans are saying this album sounds like it's built with film logic, not verse, hook, verse, more like scenes, cuts, mood shifts, foreground and background details. Like the album isn't trying to be playlist friendly, it's trying to be remembered. And honestly, the motive could be simple: legacy. Because Rocky has been in that weird space where his influence is bigger than his recent output. Everybody dresses like the wave he started. Everybody borrows pieces of his approach, but the internet still acts like he's optional. So what do you do if you're Rocky? You don't argue, you don't tweet, you don't beg. You let time pass, and you return with something so undeniable, it forces the culture to re-rank the whole list. And it gets even crazier when you add the life stuff, the Rihanna factor. Because whether folks want to admit it or not, being attached to Rihanna changes how the world looks at you. It's not just romance, it's brand gravity, it's global attention, it's power in rooms you can't even enter without permission. So when Rocky flexes now, it's not the old rap bravado. It's not, I got money. It's, I moved into a different universe and I'm still rapping better than your favorites. That's the kind of flex that ends debates without yelling. Now, I'm not claiming their relationship is some industry chess move, but fans online love that narrative. They love the idea that Rocky leveled up his life while everybody else stayed stuck chasing playlist slots. And that perception alone can trigger envy, real envy. Because it's one thing to be rich, it's another thing to be rich and respected and still creative. People also keep bringing up how Rocky did all these side quests, acting, directing, curating, being in spaces where rap isn't the main character. And that matters, because when you live outside the genre, you start hearing it differently. If you only eat one food, you don't know what you're missing. But when you taste other flavors, you come back to the table like, why are we still eating this same bland plate? And allegedly, that's what happened here. Fans are saying this album sounds like it's built with film logic, not verse, hook, verse, more like scenes, cuts, mood shifts, foreground and background details. Like the album isn't trying to be playlist friendly, it's trying to be remembered. And honestly, the motive could be simple: legacy. Because Rocky has been in that weird space where his influence is bigger than his recent output. Everybody dresses like the wave he started. Everybody borrows pieces of his approach, but the internet still acts like he's optional. So what do you do if you're Rocky? You don't argue, you don't tweet, you don't beg. You let time pass, and you return with something so undeniable it forces the culture to re-rank the whole list. And it gets even worse for the competition when you realize Rocky's advantage. He's not fighting for a spot, he already had one. So he can take risks, he can make weird choices, he can build a world. Because he doesn't need to impress the algorithm, he needs to shock the humans. Now, some people online even take it into the darker theory zone. They're saying the 8-year wait wasn't just personal timing, it was strategic timing. Like Rocky watched the genre get comfortable, watched artists repeat the same formula, and waited until the moment the sound felt stale enough that one bold project would feel like an explosion. And look, that's not provable, but it's a clean theory, because it fits the vibe of the music people are describing. Not a comeback, a correction. Not, here's what I've been up to, but here's what y'all forgot rap could be. So when you hear folks saying, this album wasn't meant to trend, it was meant to destroy the entire rap industry, it sounds dramatic, it sounds like internet exaggeration. But think about it. In a culture where everyone is chasing quick hits, the person willing to build a full cinematic experience automatically looks like a genius. Not because everyone else is talentless, but because everyone else is playing safe. And Rocky, if the internet narrative is right, Rocky came back to punish safe.
But here's the part that really hits different, and people don't talk about it enough. Everybody keeps debating the sound, the features, the rollout, the genre takeover talk. But underneath all that, there's this quiet pressure in the way people are hearing Rocky right now. Like, he's not just showing skill, he's showing restraint. And restraint is scary when it comes from somebody who's capable of chaos. Because if you really think about the past 8 years, that's not just time. That's life changing. That's friendships changing. That's circles shrinking. That's trust issues. That's industry relationships going cold. That's watching people celebrate you, then move on, then pretend they never needed you. And fans swear you can hear that in the confidence now. Not loud, not desperate, not trying to convince anyone. It's more like Rocky walks into the room and doesn't explain himself. He doesn't rush, he doesn't chase the beat. He lets the beat chase him. That's a different kind of power. And it gets even crazier when you realize why that hits people emotionally. Because everybody knows what it feels like to be counted out, Maybe not by millions, but by somebody. A job, a friend group, a family member. Somebody who decided your chapter was over before you finished writing it. So when listeners hear Rocky moving like "I don't need your approval," it taps into something personal. It's not just music. It's a fantasy of redemption, a fantasy of returning to the same room that doubted you and not even raising your voice. And people online keep pulling Rihanna into it, not in a messy way, but in this symbolic way. Like, look at the life he built while y'all were calling him washed. And whether that's fair or not, it makes the flex heavier, because it's not just "I'm winning," it's "I'm unbothered while I'm winning." Now let's keep it real. Nobody truly knows what's in Rocky's head. We don't know what was going on behind closed doors. We don't know what pressure he was under. We don't know what fears he had to fight off while being silent for that long. But the internet is filling in the blanks, and the blanks are making the story feel human. Because in the silence, people imagine isolation. They imagine critics. They imagine label conversations. They imagine moments of doubt. And then they imagine him coming back anyway, not with a safe return, but with something bold enough to scare the whole field. That's why this narrative is gripping, because it's not just Rocky dropped, it's Rocky survived 8 years of doubt and came back sharper. And if you're an artist watching this, it probably feels like pressure, like you can't hide behind hype anymore, because Rocky is allegedly doing the one thing everybody claims they'll do, but rarely actually does. He waited, he built, he returned with intention. And for fans, that feels like loyalty being rewarded, like, "See, I told you." And for the people who doubted him, it feels like embarrassment, like you talked too soon, and now the receipts are playing in surround sound. And that's why this moment is emotional without anybody saying it. Because it's not just a comeback, it's a scoreboard update.
Now this is where things get interesting, because when you zoom out, the internet isn't just praising the album, they're building a whole map of it, like they're treating tracks like evidence files. Let's talk specifics people keep naming, because these aren't random picks. These are the tracks that fans swear reveal the mission. No trespassing. Folks online are calling it a diss, a banger, and a world-building masterclass all at once. Not because it's mean, but because the energy is territorial. It sounds like Rocky drew a line around a whole creative lane and said, if you step in here, you better be ready to bleed talent. And people are pointing at certain lines, certain pauses, certain ad-lib placements like they're coded messages. Again, alleged. But the way listeners are dissecting it, that's real. Then stop snitching. Now listen, people did not expect Sauce Walker to slide in like that. And when I say slide, I mean he didn't just feature. He added texture. He added unpredictability. The verse feels like it's moving sideways, like it's laughing while it's swinging. And fans swear that's the whole strategy. Rocky doesn't want a neat album. He wants an album that feels slightly dangerous. Then there's Doechie's performance, getting hyped like it's a generational moment. And it's not even about hype. It's the way she fits into the world. Not pasted on top, not a cameo. More like a character stepping into the scene and stealing the camera for a second. And of course, Tyler the Creator on Fish and Steak. People are calling it two visionaries colliding like controlled chaos, because Tyler is one of the few artists where you can't predict what he's gonna do, and Rocky matching that energy makes the whole thing feel like a lab experiment. Like, what happens when two people who don't care about the rules share the same room? And here's the scary part. Half the features are reportedly so subtly woven in, listeners miss them. That's not an accident. That's design. Because in the streaming era, features are usually billboards. This album treats features like shadows. Now, fans online turned into investigators again. They're slowing down parts, comparing vocal inflections, claiming certain background harmonies have 91% similarity to one artist's tone, but 74% similarity to another, like they're doing a DNA test on sound. And no, that's not official, but it's fueling the myth. And it gets even wilder when people start discussing the alleged collaborator list floating around. Tim Burton being mentioned, Danny Elfman being mentioned, Mike Dean being mentioned, Damon Albarn being mentioned. Look, none of that is confirmed here, and we're not presenting it like fact. But understand what that rumor does to a listener's brain. It tells them, this isn't rap album logic. This is film score logic. This is world-building logic. So when they press play, they're not listening like consumers.
They're listening like explorers. They're hunting for details. They're expecting twists. And honestly, that's what makes this whole situation feel so different. Because an album that turns listeners into detectives automatically becomes bigger than the music. It becomes a conversation engine. It becomes identity. It becomes a you either get it or you don't. Now, let's recap the key evidence points the internet keeps repeating. The opening track's tone is aggressive and cinematic, like a statement. The features are blended into the world instead of used for clout. The structure is long-form and immersive, not designed for quick skips. The rumored collaborators and sonic references push it into film territory. And when you stack all that, it's easy to see why people are saying Rocky didn't return to compete. He returned to redefine the rules of competing. And it gets crazier because if this is the new bar, then what does that do to everybody else who's been dropping fast, safe formula music? It makes them look like they weren't even trying. That's the real threat. Not that Rocky is better, but that Rocky is making effort visible again, and visible effort embarrasses shortcuts.
Now, this whole situation gets even crazier when you realize how the internet loves a comeback, but it loves a revenge comeback even more. And that's the vibe people are projecting onto this. Because Rocky's silence wasn't just silence in the public mind. It became a meme, a debate, a punchline. People said he was done. People said he was washed. People said he was just Rihanna's man now. And whether those comments were jokes or not, that stuff sticks. So when the album hits and it's layered and cinematic, fans start acting like they're watching a movie where the main character returns to the city that betrayed him, and they're celebrating like it's personal. And honestly, that's why the reaction is so intense. Not everybody is reacting to the same thing. Some are reacting to the music, some are reacting to the story they built in their heads, and some are reacting to the idea that Rocky waited long enough to make people regret doubting him. Now let's keep it real. We've seen artists take long breaks before, but the difference is most long breaks come with excuses. This one feels like a dare, and fans online keep repeating the same line in different ways. He wasn't gone, he was building. And that phrase is basically gasoline for internet hype, because it makes every weird sound choice feel intentional. Every risky transition feels like art. Every confusing moment feels like a clue. And it gets even wilder when people start connecting side narratives. Rocky's fashion influence, how his visuals always felt ahead, how he's always had that director brain. People are pulling old interviews, old performances, old music videos, and doing the whole, look, he's been on this thing. They're comparing imagery, they're comparing color palettes, they're comparing the way he frames himself in visuals, like he's always been building a universe, not just dropping songs. And then you got the internet doing what it does, taking a rumor and turning it into a full documentary. One person says Tim Burton vibe. Next thing you know, there's TikTok showing side-by-side comparisons with gothic film scenes, eerie carnival textures, twisted orchestral stabs. Again, nobody's confirming that's literally involved, but the fact the music makes people think of that, that's impact. Meanwhile, people are also dragging the current state of rap into the conversation. They're saying Rocky just made half the scene look lazy. They're saying this is what happens when you stop chasing playlists and start chasing legacy. And honestly, you can disagree, but you can't ignore how loud that narrative is right now. Now let me restate the core story again because it matters for retention. People online believe Rocky didn't drop an album. They believe he dropped a statement piece meant to shift the culture. And every time that idea spreads, it makes the album feel bigger than it actually is. That's how virality works. Not just the content, the meaning people attach to it. And it gets even crazier when you think about the timing, because hip-hop is already in this weird identity crisis where everybody's asking, what's next? So if Rocky shows up with something that feels like a new direction, people latch onto it like a lifeboat. They want a savior narrative. They want a reset narrative. So Rocky becomes a symbol again, whether he asked for it or not. And this is where the side stories really start stacking. The 8 years was intentional theory, that he outgrew the genre theory, that he's coming back to take the throne theory, that he's about to spark a whole new wave theory. None of that is confirmed, but the internet doesn't need confirmation to run. It needs a compelling storyline and a beat to walk to, and Rocky just gave them both.
And this story is still unfolding, with way bigger implications than just one album drop.
Because what we're seeing here is how internet culture decides what matters. In the streaming era, music isn't just music. It's attention warfare. It's algorithm survival. It's who can stay in your face long enough to feel important. So when an artist steps away for years and still comes back with a moment that grabs people, that shakes the system. Because it exposes something uncomfortable. Maybe the constant content flood isn't the only way to win. Maybe the loudest person isn't always the most powerful person. Maybe the person who disappears and returns with intention is the one who scares everybody else. And it gets even crazier when you think about what this does to younger artists. Because if Rocky's perceived reset narrative sticks, the lesson becomes stop rushing, stop copying, stop dropping fast food music, build something that lasts. Now, that's a beautiful lesson. But it's also a dangerous one, because not everybody can afford to disappear for 8 years. Most artists don't have that cushion. So the culture creates this impossible standard where you're expected to be both constant and legendary. And that pressure breaks people. This is also about responsibility on social media, because we watch the internet spend years clowning Rocky, calling him irrelevant, acting like his chapter was closed, and now we watch the same internet turn around and crown him like a genius. And that flip is wild. It shows how fast the crowd rewrites history. And honestly, it's a warning, not just to artists, to fans too. Because the more we treat music like disposable content, the more we reward shortcuts. And the more we reward shortcuts, the more the art loses its soul. So if Rocky really did drop something that feels like a full experience, the bigger conversation becomes, are we ready to go back to albums that demand attention? Or are we too addicted to skipping? Because the internet loves saying, bring back real artistry, until artistry asks for patience. Then people complain it's too long, too weird, too much. But this moment proves something. People still crave a world to step into. They still crave mystery. They still crave projects that feel like they were made with care. So, whether you love the album or not, the reaction is proof that the hunger is real. And that hunger is the reason the industry might have to shift. Because if one artist can make effort feel cool again, everybody else has to respond. Not with sweets, not with drama, with work. And that changes everything. Let's be honest, the way people are talking, this album is already locked into Album of the Year conversations in the court of public opinion. And whether that's fair or premature, that's what the internet does. It crowns things fast. But here's the real collapse. If Rocky's hostile takeover narrative becomes the dominant story, then every other major rap release that's been coasting on formula is gonna look hollow overnight. And it gets even crazier when you bring up what's coming next, because people keep whispering about J. Cole's The Fall Off like it's the next big earthquake. So fans are asking, coincidence? Or are we watching the beginning of a bigger shift where the big names all feel the pressure to actually deliver something with weight again? Now, I'm not saying there's some coordinated plan, but the timing is interesting, because hip-hop has been waiting for a moment where artistry feels dangerous again. Not safe, not polished for playlists, dangerous. And Rocky's return, at least in the online perception, feels like a warning shot. Like he's saying, if y'all keep treating rap like content, I'm gonna remind you it can be cinema. So, the speculation becomes, is this a one-time statement? Or is Rocky about to start a whole era where every release feels like a film, every song feels like a scene, and every artist who can't build a world gets exposed? Because once the bar moves, it doesn't move back. One thing is undeniable. A$AP Rocky didn't just drop an album. People are saying he dropped a warning, a reset button, a line in the sand. And whether you think it's the greatest thing ever or you think the internet is overhyping it, you can't deny the reaction is straight insane. The debates are everywhere, the breakdowns are everywhere, the think pieces are everywhere. And it feels like we're watching the culture re-rank the whole board in real time. So now it's your turn. I need to know what side you on. What tracks hit you hardest? Did No Trespassing feel like a diss to you, or just pure world building? Did Stop Snitching catch you off guard?
And do you think Doechii and Tyler made the album feel even more cinematic? Or do you think Rocky could have carried it solo with no cameos at all? And here's the big one. Is this the most daring rap album we've seen in years? Or are people just starving for a legend return storyline and projecting meaning onto it? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I'm reading everything, and the best theories always come from y'all. Make sure you like the video, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update. Because if more behind the scenes details or more clues start surfacing, we covering every twist. Stay locked in, stay sharp, and remember, in the streaming era, the loudest doesn't always win. The one with the vision does. See you in the next one.